Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, as you will see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where we'll be relaxing as per usual. What am I going to talk about? I don't really know. What gaming news is there to talk about? Let's see, r/games. The ever reliable source I need, or aggregate service, to be able to figure out what's going on. Civ 7 has gone gold. That's pretty crazy. Civ 7? Well, Civ 6. Not really a game I played all that much. Because I didn't. I meant Civ 5. I don't even have Civ 6. Good evening, oh gosh, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 8:18 PM on Monday, January 20th, 2025. Certainly one which is actually quite popular, I think, in my friend circle, if anything. To some people, not to others necessarily. So I played it like an okay-ish amount, I guess. I don't know, like I never really got into it. And I think it's, it's one of those games which are meant to be like one more turn sort of thing. And, I did have it for a little bit, but then like as I played it more, I was like, nah, it takes too long, almost. It's, weirdly enough, it's almost like if I want to do this like Civ colonization builder thing, it would be something I want to check in like maybe like once a day and just sort of see how it's going, Which feels a bit counterintuitive, I think. If anything. I don't know, maybe as I just get older, I want more of the dopamine hit now when I'm playing games rather than later. Maybe that's why Valorant is working more for me now rather than later. I will say I'm honestly so terrible at aiming in Valorant. Like, nothing made me not more self-conscious of it or anything. More conscious of it, I suppose, than playing with my friend who is, the entry for our friend circle. Definitely the main one, who is very, very good at shooting. Clicking heads, as they say. I didn't even know that they could randomly pull out the glow stick and, play with it. So just watching Vivian there run around with a light stick. Oh, they're both running around with a light stick. Are they both, they're pretending to be airplanes? Am I just in the way? Hold on. I'll get out of the way. You can have your fun up there. It's so cute. What I was going to say, oh yes. Because, you might be like, shouldn't you be like kind of good at like shooters? Didn't you play a lot of TF2 when you were growing up? And didn't you play a lot of Rainbow Six Siege? Not in its heyday, but like you yourself have like got multiple hours in Rainbow Six Siege. Both true things. Both did not probably contribute to my shooter ability, mainly because in TF2, if you didn't know, I was a pyro main. Pyros use a flamethrower and have not as much skill requirement for aiming. They just sort of click in the direction. They have much more requirement of finding good flanks, if anything, or air blasting, so good timing, if anything else, rather than needing to like have good precision accuracy like sniper would. I did like playing sniper, and actually for a while I got like okay-ish at sniper, but again, this is just me in like public lobbies. This is not me doing much private things or compet games. Comp games, you see. I don't think anyone says compet as the acronym, as the shortening. And yes, I did play a lot of Siege, but it's the thing, I had this discussion with my friends before as well, that in Siege you can make up for being bad at like the actual shooter element, the gunplay part of it, by having good like map knowledge of a game, or mechanical, I'm not sure mechanical knowledge is the right term. Excuse me. But you get like map knowledge matters, or can matter a lot more in Siege. Like, if I can't win the gunfight, straight up or something, Siege doesn't matter. Like, I could have a sneaky drone and I could find them out first and then I can pre-fire, or I could just, see them on the map, or have a good sense or where they're coming from and, like warbang them or something like that instead. Valorant doesn't have that, and I don't say that as like a bad thing, but in different games, they have different design philosophies, more so, and the gunfights take a more prominent role in Siege. And also kind of utility does as well, which is, I'm not sure, I'm trying to think how to put it. Siege is very much sort of information based, I suppose, because the maps are huge. A lot of the attacking time is sort of like going around trying to find and flush out the roamers before collapsing in and whatever advantage you have on the anchors on the site, while Valorant is, you know, you got some sort of mind games of which one you're going to, rotations, things like that, timing. Not that it doesn't exist in Siege, but I don't know, I guess it's a different vibe. Anyway, I think the thing that made me reflect on it most was last night, when we were playing, you know, one of my friends was like, yeah, dear darling, is your like sense, you know, like your mouse sensitivity really high? And I was like, no, I don't think so. Like, this is what I used to play Siege on. It's like, I don't know, like 800 DPI or something. I don't know what mouse sensitivity, to be fair, I have in games, so maybe it is high. And then they both were just like, oh, you're like twitching a lot while playing. And I was like, oh, well, that's weird. Because they did at first ask us, like, maybe you're like nervous or something. And, you know, probably not. At least, like, I didn't feel nervous at the time. And if anything, I would say that one of my biggest strengths in Siege is I'm very good at the clutch situations, because I'll play it like I normally would play. Being down 1 vs 5, I'd probably play. Okay, I wouldn't say I play the same as in 5v5. I guess I'd be more risky in a 5v5, but in a 1 vs 5, and I suppose it's like that doesn't bother me, I suppose. Or the 1v1 overtime or something, match point or whatever. I play pretty similarly. But I was also thinking that my mouse has had this bug, and I've brought it up multiple times now in Animal Crossing, where I was just like, I thought my mouse had like dust or dirt or something in it, where like sometimes I would just leave it and it would just like vibrate in the spot, or sometimes I'd like move my mouse over to something and it would be like extremely jittery. And I think part of it is that like maybe there is some dust, which I haven't had it as much recently, which is good. Still have had it, but I think the conclusion I came to is the fact that I have a very light desk, like a reflective desk. It's a bright colour, which is probably not great for a laser mouse. You kind of want like a dark surface, if anything. Otherwise you get a lot of interference from the reflections of a laser back into the mouse itself, as I understand it. And that's why I was like, ages ago, I was like, I was going to get one of those big mouse mats or something, and then I just never did. Mainly because I don't have a lot of desk space to begin with, but I really should just get a mouse mat, like one of those big mouse mats. I'd have to figure out exactly how much space I have on here, and I'd have to probably shift some things, but it would be good, especially because I don't have a worry of like spilling food or drink on here, because I don't eat or drink anything but water at my desk. But then it was also like I was using the computer like just a bit earlier, and I was just like looking at my mouse and moving, and I was like, wait a minute, maybe I'm just like an old grandma or something when I move the mouse, because like even as I like sort of move the mouse, like why is it like I don't move it in like such a straight line, I move it in like some sort of weird jittery. No, it's not jittery. I don't know. Like, I just had the vibe that when I was paying more attention to how I actually move a mouse, I'm just sort of like floating it about, really, rather than actually moving it with much precision. Which, you know, at the time I was just like, maybe I'm just like an elderly woman now, just like moving my mouse, shaky hands or something. But no, it's probably, if anything, it's just it goes hand in hand with not being good at. Not saying that I can't be good at, more like not being experienced at the sort of, you know, the quick precisions that you sort of need. Quick flicks and that sort, you know, like clicking in one place and immediately clicking in the next place. I probably just don't have that as developed as some of my other gamer friends, which is fair. I mean, I'm not saying that as necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. Really, it just is a thing. It did strike me as odd. Like in the time, I didn't really think of it as odd. I was like, what a weird thing. I was like, am I nervous? And I don't feel very nervous. If anything, I feel more tired, if anything, because we were playing at like 2 AM or something. And I was like, I'm pretty tired right now. But it did get me thinking. So I don't know. Like, do I need a new mouse? I don't think I need a new mouse. This mouse is still relatively new. And I still like it. Because it's like one of the most lightweight mice I've ever had. Maybe the part of the issue is the fact I play with it wireless. Maybe the connection sometimes goes a bit iffy. Maybe because it's so light, it's like hard to control, I suppose, zipping around. I don't know. I just like, I mean, it just makes more practical sense with me because it's an ambidextrous one and it's lightweight. Am I ambidextrous? No, but I do often like to use my mouse left-handed sometimes. When I'm just casually browsing and things like that, when I don't need precision, like when I'm not playing a game, I'll use the mouse left-handed. But when I'm actually playing a game, I'll use it right-handed, which, you know, probably doesn't help the whole precision part, right? But yeah, I don't know, I guess at some point maybe I should actually try like the aim training stuff in like Valorant or something. I suppose it depends how seriously I'm trying to like learn to play Valorant, etc. Right now I'm coasting pretty okayishly, being carried mainly by my team, but also by equipping all the siege knowledge I have, and then just sort of making do with kind of passable for my bronze skill level clicking head mechanics. Obviously I would like to do better because, you know, it's favourite month, it's like nice, it's fun playing the game, but I'm also, I suppose, to be fair, not willing to put the effort in, you know, not willing to be like my friend, learning all the strats, learning how well like people play default things, and I'm not willing to put in the time to be like, yeah, let's get a lot better at shooter and clicking heads. So, you know, it's on me. I'm not saying it's on my friends. All my friends are like, or like I have any sense of superiority to my friends because I don't do that. It's just more like, you know, that just is the way it is, isn't it? But it did make me sort of reflect on it a little bit. Because, I mean, like, skill and enjoyment of a game do kind of go hand in hand. Like, even the most casual gamer, to a certain degree, you know, likes... It feels... I guess the way I put it is, it feels good to be good at something, right? It feels good to, like, work hard at something and have it pay off, you know? If you give people the option, it's like, would you rather be, like, really bad at this game or really good at this game? Like, it would be a bit strange to be like... Well, I wouldn't say it'd be a bit strange, but I think the most common answer would be like, yeah, I'd rather just be really good for a game, even if I don't like that game, just like, you know, just like have it in my back pocket, I suppose. Like, it's not really much of a downside, right? So yeah, I mean, like everyone else, would I prefer to be better at the game? Yeah. How much effort would I be willing to put in to be that much better at the game? Yet to be decided. I think it depends on how much it ends up hooking me. I will say we did play some queued up as a group of 3 in ranked, which some of the community is so incredibly toxic for no apparent reason. Like, we played with this one, I don't know, I guess this is a Valorant story now. There was a group of 3 of us, and we played competitive queue. And I will be honest that I will fully admit that I'm not the most communicative in these sort of games, mainly because I don't particularly like to use voice chat. It's sometimes it ends up worse than good, and, you know, I suppose that's the sort of thing where it's like I'd rather not bother dealing with that, depending on, you know, who you're playing with. But because you're playing with a roulette wheel or people you don't really know their reaction, is probably the best way to put it. But definitely I could communicate more using like text chat and pinging. I think it's just because my knowledge of Valorant isn't there. It's basically, it feels like false knowledge, because it's basically siege knowledge, which I was just like, okay, I'll just make the siege equivalent. I'll draw the siege equivalent conclusion to Valorant and hope it just applies the same. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Like some generic things apply about like how to put down smokes and, you know, pushing with a team, using utility and things like that, flushing people out. Doesn't really work the same when it comes to the actual gunfight. You should not be moving in Valorant while shooting, or moving a little bit, like you should be strafing, right, or something, as I understand it. Enough to not mess up your recoil. But in Siege, you're just like, go everywhere, diving. Like, there was a meta where you basically had to go prone to the ground as you were shooting in Siege, which is weird to see, and I'm very glad we got rid of that. But Siege, if you're not constantly not running, but like strafing to the side while shooting, turning, etc., etc., you're a stationary target. You're too easy to hit, right? That's an active gunfight, right? That's what I mean. Where was I going with this? I don't remember. Oh yeah. So, but I fully admit that I'm definitely not that communicative, but it's good when I play with friends because, you know, if I want to communicate anything, they'll just communicate it for me. Which is a nice thing to have, I suppose. And I don't mind, like, typing in texture. I like saying, like, nice job and good and all that, but it was definitely running with the most toxic person. No, if they weren't even most toxic, it was just more like a bewildering sort of toxicity, because it's not like they were dropping truly offensive terms or anything like that. They were just like so unbelievably negative for no reason. Like, the other randomer on our team made a mistake, and by the way, shout out to that other randomer actually being like quite nice, being like, oh, you know, maybe they don't have microphones, maybe that's why they're not communicating, as they're not saying anything like that. And the other guy was just such a wet blanket. Because if you're watching this, you know, I hope you have a deep hard reflection on yourself and how you portray yourself, and if that's the way you want people to remember you, because that's the way I remember you, random Rena, from that one game. It was just like, no, they do. And like, sorry, the major thing is that one other randomer who accidentally died on Jet, you know, definitely was a mistake. It was obviously not intentional, and they felt bad about it. And the other guy just kept going on, being like, "Why did you're throwing? Like, why would you do that? Why would you jump into the pit? Obviously, like, I didn't mean to do that." And us in our call would be like, "Oh man, that kind of sucks. You know, that you did that by accident, but you know, mistakes happen. We're also bronze, so you know, what are you expecting?" Clearly, that person didn't manage to do that, and yes, we did lose a round because of it. Well, maybe not because of it, but it didn't certainly help. But it's like, oh, it's such a wet blanket. And then having that experience is, you know, for one, it made me reflect on, you know, if I was younger, maybe I'd be more upset at this entire thing. But mostly, I suppose, me now I'm older, I'm just sort of like, what? It's so weird. Why are you like this, man? Just chill out, dude. I guess I'm glad to say that I don't think I was ever toxic as a teenager playing these competitive games. If anything, I was probably too silent, just not saying anything. I'm not saying that you can't get frustrated at a game or that sort of thing, but just like, I don't know. Think about the way that you portray yourself. Think about how you want to be remembered. Think about the way that you come across to other people. Maybe you don't care about that sort of things, then okay, fair enough. Then I guess you wouldn't care about my opinion in the first place, so I guess this message isn't to you. But it's, I guess, and this is a Dear Darling classic. We talk about some practical anecdote, not practical anecdote, but actually happened, and then we start going into the philosophical. But it's like, I don't know. Obviously, it's not as easy just to be like, oh, just improve your self-attitude, you know, like, I immediately identify that you are probably the problem. If everything is, like, terrible around you, then, and you are a common factor in all of it, then maybe there's something to be gleaned there. Maybe there isn't, by the way. Maybe you really are just super unlucky. Maybe just you're in a terrible circumstance. Maybe the people you surround yourself with are bad people or something. But, you know, at least being able to have that ability to be able to reflect in the first place, to be able to at least consider it, ponder it, and justify whether it is or isn't true, I think is, you know, good. What I'm basically saying is self-awareness is a valuable and admirable trait to have. And I guess having that experience just sort of made me wonder. Because I'm like, if I met this person in real life, I wonder if they would be like that. Maybe this is the insane part of me speaking. Because I did do this sometimes, like when people were really, really toxic back in League of Legends, and sometimes we play ranked or something. Sometimes, you know, they had all they'd be there in the post-game chat, and I would just spend a very long time talking to them, just being like, can I sway them to start seeing that, yes, and see if, like, yes, that hope that is inside you, that, like, you are a good person, this is a bad moment, and because of the anonymity of online spaces, you are taking your frustrations out on someone else rather than dealing with it in a healthy way. I would say it's about 50-50 success rate. You know, first time I did it, I spoke a long time with someone and they, you know, admitted at the end, yeah, I was just really frustrated, I'm sorry about that, you know, today things have been a little bit difficult, and I understand where you're coming from, and it was wrong, and I actually did enjoy that game at the end, and I was just like, you know what, you know, no harm, no foul. I'm glad that you could see that in the end. I'm glad that we can come to this nice consensus. The second time I did it, the person was just like, it was like talking to a brick wall, like completely ignoring almost everything I was saying, and still sort of trying to justify from their own perspective why their toxicity was justified. And crazy enough, I guess you remember the toxic people sometimes a lot more than the non-toxic people, especially when you invest time into it, I guess. I got matched up with that person again in a game with some friends, and I was looking at that person's username, being like, this username looks so familiar to me, why do I recognize it? And then, lo and behold, they rage quit that game like 5 or 10 minutes into it. And I was like, oh, I think it was that person. Which I tried to spend like an hour speaking with afterwards to try and be like, hey, are you like, I mean, from my own sort of perspective, being like, I'm trying to make you see that maybe you can be a good person, right? But it's not worth it doing all this flame, this toxicity, and spreading it in the world, if that's not the person that you want to be, you know? You can change. You can be toxic in the past and not toxic now. You know, all it takes is one right step in the right direction, right? But anyway, if anything, like part of me was like, part of me with that sort of complex, I guess, is just like, I want to talk to you, like in person. Let's sit down, have a coffee, have a tea. Let's see what's going on with your life. Let's dive down to the root of a problem, like psychologist, therapist, dear darling, here to be like, yes, let's break this down. But also part of me is just sort of like, wow, I can't even imagine like trying to put myself in that shoes, being like, what would I have to be like, or like what I would have to be feeling to spew that sort of negativity. continuously, I think, throughout the entire game. It's crazy. Rather than just say nothing. I don't know. But yeah, again, I'm not them, so I don't think it's necessarily fair for me to judge in that case. And it made a very interesting anecdote. Usually when that happens, I guess I just forget about it the next day, but now you all have that story. Well, I don't know. I don't really know if not really in a way to sort of like point and laugh or anything, but more of like a way to go on your own self-reflection, if anything. You're basically the major factor that you control in your life, so I'm not going to try controlling all the other people that I can't, I suppose. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to round this episode off here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.